It is now time for our weekly political segment, Texas Face Off. Joining me this morning is Sam Robles, the Advocacy Director of Progress Texas, and Matt Makoviak, Chairman of the Travis County Republican Party. Thank you both for being here.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Obviously, the big topic at hand, taxes, right? The state legislature talking about these current issues, trying to help us save some money on property taxes by then, in fact, raising the sales tax. So the big talk right now is that they're going to do this with a 1-cent increase in sales tax. There's been some argument about this. Is this a good idea? I kind of want to get you all to talk and kind of weigh in about this.
Well, what we're seeing with this tax plan is that it's irresponsible for a couple of reasons. We're seeing that Republicans are putting a 16% tax increase on working families, people who already spend most of their money on groceries, buying diapers and other items for the household. And working people in the state pay 4 times more in sales tax than Texans of higher income. And
can I stop you for a minute? Because I've heard that whole 16%, and it's somewhat inaccurate to say it's going to be a 16% increase, isn't it, tax? Isn't that? I mean, it's going to increase the amount that they pay on sales taxes.
It will increase the burden on working people. And I think what we're seeing with this tax plan overall is that we have yet to see corporations like industry and commercial properties being taxed fairly, right? And so while we're making these swaps, we're putting a load heavier on working people, and we're leaving corporations and some of these commercial properties out of the equation.
Now, this is an unusual move for Republicans because they don't want to raise taxes. So why do this?
Yeah, I mean, you would do it to, it would still be a net tax decrease. Actually, the politics of this are making the sales tax swap proposal difficult, and I think right now it's probably not going to happen, although there's still 20 days in legislative session, so we'll see what happens. Look, the challenge here is they have a limited amount of money, about $8 or $9 billion in new money to spend this biennium. And they want to increase funding to public education, and they want to try to do something serious about property tax reform. The challenge is if you don't create new revenue, then you're not going to be able to really cut people's property taxes in ways they're going to feel it. Look, the challenge is I'm sensitive to working people who are more affected by sales tax than they are by property tax, but as Speaker Dennis Bonnen said on Friday, he never comes across someone who says they can't buy a home or can't stay in their home because the sales tax is too high. Property taxes are killing people across the state, urban, suburban, rural, you name it. There's no geographic region in the state that's immune to it. So they were looking for ways to create revenue. The sales tax swap was put on the table fairly late. Democrats are pretty much universally opposed to it, and there's even some division among Republicans. So I think what's most likely is they're going to basically keep the property tax plan about where it is, and then do the school finance funding as well. So they'll put those together. The challenge is, again, people are probably not going to feel much property tax relief. What's good is you're not going to see massive increases of 8, 9, 10% every year, which is what people have been feeling. It's going to be capped at around 3.5%.
What I do think is interesting is that it tends to be the school districts that tend to raise our property taxes even more. And when you look at the breakdown of who can afford property, this, in effect, according to the Legislative Budget Board, will help people who make $99,000 or more a year, but hurt anyone who makes less than that.
That's right. And so while Texans across the state, some might experience these property tax cuts, renters aren't going to get that same. It's not going to trickle down to renters, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that we're concerned about, and what we saw yesterday with the House Democratic Caucus was that lawmakers pointed to a solution in making sure that there's some loopholes. We have some money over here. It's about $40 billion that can be taken into consideration when we're looking at some of these adjustments. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot in the debate today. I think overall the narrative has shifted a lot in terms of, you know, we are seeing Republicans and Democrats coming out and questioning this is not a good solution for Texans.
Can we dip into that? I mean, we have heard some talk about dipping into that fund.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's an open question. I mean, let me say one thing about renters. The idea that renters don't pay property taxes is false, because the property tax increases are being paid by someone. They may not. The renter may not. You know, it may not be on. Right? It may not be on their monthly, you know, rent bill, but it's being charged to the landlord, and the landlord's passing that through. Right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. If the landlord's paying high property taxes for the unit that they're renting, that's being passed through to the renter. So again, I mean, one of the frustrations I think Republicans have is Democrats don't really seem to be taking property tax all that seriously. You know, they basically have opposed putting this cap at 3.5%. They basically oppose allowing voters to have a say if it's going to go over 3.5%, and they've really put no serious revenue on the table to try to really cut property taxes. In fact, Democratic mayors in big cities have been fighting lowering the cap on the rollback rate. So I think it's clear that we're going to almost surely avoid a special session, and they're going to work out the differences, and they're going to do what they've kind of been doing on these two issues. I just don't think they're probably going to go much further than that, but there's still 20 days left. They may find a solution.
That was my question. Can we get all this accomplished? Can we get the whole school finance and the tax issue worked out?
I think we're well on our way. This is the first time in 30 years legislators take on these sort of proposals and really dive deep into it. I think the 2018 elections had something to do with that, and so we're really seeing them chug through these pieces of legislation, and I think we'll see where they get in the next 20 days.
Lots to watch.